Hi everyone. This is going to be our lesson 1 for year 3 students, and we're going to start on page 28, which is the D minor scale. I know some of you have already done this and some of you have not, so we're going to use it as a review. Let's start right away with the D minor scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it really slowly for you. D minor has 1 flat, so we're going to have E naturals. Make sure that your E is where it's always been, right on the E natural, but when we get over to the A string, you have to pull your B flat back. So the scale sounds like this. And then we have F natural. And now you need to pull your B flat back. And then C, D. And then we'll repeat and come down. Make sure that B flat is back. And get over to the G. And E natural is next to the F. So especially for cellists, when you get over to that A string, just be sure that you're not pulling your entire hand back to get that B flat. It's an extension back, so that way you're still able to reach your C and your D. For violins, it's slightly easier, but for cellos, that's probably going to be your toughest thing. Make sure you're not pulling all the way back. So now let's play the scale in tempo. About 1, 2, ready, play. And if you want to add a little something, we can also do that as a round. So you would start playing after I play my first 2 notes. So I'll cue you in, I'll play 2 notes, and then you come in right after that. So I'll start with, now you come in. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Mahler's theme. Some of you have learned this already and some of you have not. So I'm just going to teach you each measure at a time and then we'll try to play the whole thing through. So our first measure in Mahler's theme is going to be all on the D string. We have D, E, and then we have F, E, D. So let's try to just play that. Ready? And. So if you have that, you also have the second measure. This piece does every measure twice. So now let's play them twice. So our next measure is F, G, and then we have an A for 2 beats. It's a half note. Violins, I really would like you, and violas, would like you to use a 4th finger for that A. All right, cellos, you have to go to your open A, but violins, I really want you to use a 4th finger. So you're going to be playing 2, 3, and then a 4. Cellos, you're going to go ahead and go over to the A string. So let's try that measure. 1, 2, ready, and. And again, this measure is played twice, so now let's do it twice. Ready, and. put this song together to not hold that half note out for its full 2 counts. Just be sure you do that. So now let's move on to the next line. And this part's a little bit more difficult because we have eighth notes and we have some slurs. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. 1, 2, ready, and. So if you notice, the most difficult slur is probably going from your A to your G for all of you, for violins, violas, and for cellos. Just be sure that your G is ready to go down. It needs to be prepared right after the A. So you kind of almost have to plop your fingers down. Let's try that again. Ready? And. And again, that measure is played twice. So let's do it twice. Ready? And. And then the last 2 measures are not so difficult, other than the violins. I would really like you to play that 4th finger. So the first D will be an open D, but then I would like you to play 1, 4 for the D. And that's a little bit difficult. Be sure your thumb is in a good spot so that your 4th finger can reach. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. So now we're ready to try to put the whole song together. Let's try it. 1, 2, ready, and. Again, remember to hold out all those half notes for 2 beats, because eventually this is going to be a round. And if you would like to practice that as a round, you can replay what we just did and just come in when I reach the little number 2 in a circle. So I'll play the first 2 measures and then you would start at the beginning. So it sounds something like this. While I continued. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next song, number 127, and we're going to learn it the exact same way. We'll learn it in pieces and then we'll play it all the way through. This one has a first and second ending, so let's make sure we do the repeat this time. We really should have done the repeat on the other one, but just to save some time, we didn't. We'll do the repeat on this one, however. Let's just worry about, let's see if we can do the first 2 measures, including the pickup note, the first note. So I'm going to count off 1, 2, 3, and then we'll come in on beat 4. Make sure you're on an up bow for that first note. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Not too bad. Just make sure you're using plenty of bow. Now we'll do the next 2 measures. These are our half notes. Let's make sure we count 2 full beats on the half notes, and then when we get to the dotted half, it is 3 beats. We got to make sure we do 3 full beats. So let's start on those half notes. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, All right, so now we're going to go ahead on to the next line and we'll do the next two measures again. And we're going to start on that high D. And again, on this slur, similar to the song we played before, when you do the slur from the A to the G, just really be ready for that G, whether you're playing violin, viola, or cello, it needs to be ready to go down. 1, 2, ready, play. And now let's do our last two measures. Let's do the first ending. So we'll do the measure before the first ending with that dotted half note D. Make sure you count 3 beats, and then we'll play the first ending. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we would repeat and do it all over again, the second time taking the second ending. So now let's see if we can put that whole song together. Again, I'll count off to 3 and we'll come in on 4. Make sure you're on an up bow for the first note. So 1, 2, 3. So that low note for everyone is a first finger on your G string. It's a low A. So make sure that you're using your first finger. And again, on that one, if you want to get a little more advanced, you can play that again, but do it as a round. So have me play up until the circle at number 2, and then you would come in. So it would start like this. I would play by myself. 1, 2, 3. Then you would start while I continued. Okay? And the last song we're going to do today is The Snake Charmer. So because this is Allegretto and our last 2 songs were andante, we're going to play this one just a little bit faster. Let us try, how about the first 2 measures? So including the first 2 notes. We'll play the first 2 notes and then the next 2 measures. Again, I'll give you 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to start on 4, and it's an up bow. So a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3. So you might find that a little bit more difficult. One thing that might help you is if you use much smaller bows on the separate 8th notes. So if you notice at the beginning when I was doing slurred 8th notes or when I was doing quarter notes, I was using a lot more bow. So for this part, more bow. More. But then when I got to the next measure, I made it much tinier. And then I was long again on the quarter note. That makes things a little bit easier. All right, so now let's start. Why don't we start on the F, G? So that's going to be the last 2 notes of the second measure. We're going to do F, G, and then the A's, violins, and violas. Make sure you use 4th fingers. So keep the bow small when it's the separate 8th notes and a little bit longer when it's the slurs. So I'll count off 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do F, G, A. 1, 2, 3. And then the last measure, the last 2 measures are the same as our first 2 measures. So if you learned your first 2 measures, these last 2 shouldn't be so difficult. So let's play the last 2. Ready? And. Now let's put that together. Keep your bows nice and tiny on the separate eighth notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, so when you're going through these exercises, I really want you guys to concentrate on your position and your bow grip, okay? I don't want to see any cello bow grips looking like this, and I don't want to see any violin players with their wrists in or, you know, their pinkies. Really, really concentrate on that stuff. Pink violins and violas, pinky on its tip. Make sure you're using your first finger and then open and close. Cellos, make sure when you're holding your instrument, I don't want to see any of this or any weird stuff like this, like you're holding a can of soda or something, okay? Really concentrate on that stuff. And next lesson, we'll go ahead and go on to the G minor on the next page. All right, thank you so much. Bye.